G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Friday the 9th of August 2018 and the time here is 09:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well, I'm not sure if any of you have actually realised just what's going on in the American system at the moment as regard. I'm sure people are aware. What I'm trying to say is I'm not actually sure if you actually realise just how deep Australia is involved in this. And it would appear that we're up to our necks in it, literally. There was something that came out the other day as regards to Alexander Downer by Devin Nunes, the chairman of this committee that's looking into all these Fisa abuses and etc. And basically, what he said in a very diplomatic way was that Alexander Downer lied. Now, the ramifications of what I'm going to show you, or you're going to hear in a minute, are pretty widespread. And I'm going to ask everybody to, because you Americans might not know this, but we can't stand this scumbag in Australia. He is an absolute dirtbag. If there was, he's always up to it in his neck, more or less. And he is your archetypical career poly, sponging off the taxpayers, for the rest of his life, sort of thing, at our expense, and he'd be laughing all the way to the bank as well. He'd be another one of these people that's a multi-millionaire, even though he got paid $100,000 a year. They actually wonder why we can't stand them, why we hate their guts. What Nunes says here is that in the Fisa applications, or Fisa, whatever you want to call them, and Q, even though I'm not a follower of Q, I watch Stroppy Me's breakdown of all the Q stuff every day. But basically what he's been saying as well is that watch the Fisa. Watch Fisa, watch Fisa, watch Fisa. Because the truth can't be hidden, no matter what they say, in the Fisa applications. Now, the Fisa application was started because the FBI said that part of the Five Eyes thing is, the spying operations. No country is allowed to spy on themselves, so they have to ask neighbouring countries who are in this Five Eyes agreement to spy on their people for them. That's how ridiculous this world is now. In Australia, it was from day one, the FBI has said that the Fisa application was started because of two things: the Steele dossier and Five Eyes information as regards from Alexander Downer in London, as regards to, i.e. George Papadopoulos. Well, it's becoming increasingly obvious to anyone who's paying attention to this that Alexander Downer lied. Now, the ramifications of that over here are monumental, because that would mean that not only Alexander Downer lied, but people associated with him in the government would also have lied. Because cast your mind back a little while, and I was speaking to Stroppy Me about this yesterday. James Clapper came to Australia just before all this sort of shit hit the fan. And you can check it up. He came here. So it was really weird how he came here. He flew in, he was here for a day, and I think he flew out. He might have been here for 2 days. But you have to ask yourself, well, why was he here? What was the main purpose of him being here? Because there was didn't seem to be any real need for the head of national security from America to actually fly all the way to Australia for a one-day meeting. And then, ironically enough, after that, all this information came out about the Fisa and, all Trump collusion, etc., etc. Now, this is a tangled web that they're weaving here, that they've woven themselves into, that is actually breaking apart. And Clapper himself said last week that it was all Obama's doing. So basically throwing Obama under the bus. You could hear the Greyhound screeching tyres as it thumped over Obama after he said it. And he hasn't been on TV since, I don't believe. So this is becoming a really big deal, folks. And the shitbags here in Australia are up to their necks in it. Because Alexander Downer wouldn't just stick his head above the parapet and decide that he was going to do this on his own. Because he's gutless anyway, so there's no way he'd be doing that. He's a politician, for God's sake. We all know how big their hearts are. They'd rather, you know, instead of fighting for the country, they'd rather go into politics and avoid the draft and all this sort of crap. So let me play this for you now and just listen to what Devin Nunes is saying.
Well, that I think gets to the origins of the investigation, which we still are unclear on whether or not we know that the Australian diplomat that was serving in London, we were told that it was Five Eyes intelligence that was used to go after Papadopoulos. What we discovered in our investigation is there was no Five Eyes intelligence, and in fact Downer's story, the Australian diplomat, doesn't even make any sense. So we're still trying to follow up on that. But in the big picture here, we need these documents declassified. That has to get done.
Right, well folks, basically Alexander Downer is now in a load of shit, because it's been said all along that the FISA was started because of what, or the whole Trump thing started because of what Alexander Downer was supposed to have said. So either A, Alexander Downer's lying, B, the FBI is lying, or C, all of them are lying. So the effects this is going to have on the Australian government is monumental, folks. This is going to bring down the Australian Parliament, or government at the moment, because there's no way that Downer can get out of this. Especially the only way I can see him getting out of it is, well, I heard that's what was said. Now, if at any time Downer says that he gave it to the Australian security intelligence agencies and they passed it on officially, then it's true. But if Downer comes out and says, no, I gave it to the Americans, then this is a huge shit fight that's going to end up with the Australian government going down. Because basically, the Australian government would have been seen to be in collusion with the FBI. And there's no other way to say it. It's the only way you can actually make this work. Because why would Alexander Downer stick his neck out, even though he's a spineless cretin anyway, and start this all off? He must have been a witting accomplice with other people in this whole episode. Now the question is, who are the other people in the Australian government? That's the big question. If the Australian government cannot 100% say that this was done through Five Eyes, then folks, we are in one of the biggest scandals in Australian government history. We've been implicated in the, or we're duplicitous in the attempt to overthrow a ruling, democratically elected President of the United States. That's how serious this is. And I hope people watching this today share this with as many Australians as you can, because Downer's in a lot of shit here. And this could, if I'm correct, I would automatically believe that the US government has the right to actually subpoena or get his warrant for his extradition back to America to testify about this. That I would pay the price of admission to watch that, folks. Honestly, watch that shitbag squirm like that would, you know. And you know, the big question here again is, another one is, are they going to throw Alexander Downer under the bus? And if they do, who's he going to squeal on? Because that's how serious this is. Like, he's actually implicit in trying to overthrow a ruling, democratically elected president of the United States of America, because he lied. You can't just see him out of the blue just deciding that he was going to do this, can you? So he would have been coached by either the FBI, the Australian Intelligence Services, or a myriad of UK, Australia and America intelligence services to actually start the ball rolling. That in itself is extremely worrying, folks. So, we are living in interesting times. But like I said, please share this amongst all Australians, because everyone needs to understand just how serious it is as regards to Alexander Downer and what this is going to mean for Australia, because he can't get out of this. There's no way he can get out of this now. And this is, if I'm correct, it's going to bring down the Australian government. And quite rightly it should. It just shows how, you know, disgusting the whole bunch of them are, for want of a better term. Well, there you go, folks. How's this for the verse of the day, after what I just said? For the Lord takes delight in his people. He crowns the humble with victory. I'll read that again. For the Lord takes delight in his people. He crowns the humble with victory. How apt is that? And as always, folks, we'll finish with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. I wasn't going to make a big one today. Just to let you all know that Sean and I have actually arranged an actual time and date. He's been so gracious as to do that for me. I have Simon helping me with the computer tonight to actually make sure everything goes tickety-boo, and we're away. So be prepared for the interview soon. Anyway, folks, pass this around, please. Share it to everyone. We can't let this dirtbag down and get away with it. All right, prep out.